Hey everyone, this is Sam, and today I'll be doing a review on the game Ys 9 Monstrum Nox from PS4, and this was just released in North America yesterday. And this is actually a long-standing JRPG series by Falcom, and this game, the entire series really has been around for 2 decades plus. Now I'll be doing a review today, but if you would like to see more content of this game in terms of player builds, best gear, and how to defeat bosses, you can click on the playlist in the description or the card above for more content. Now, this game's best attribute is the combat system is incredibly fun and rewarding. What starts out to be very basic initially as you start out the game, but as you put in more time, you will quickly realize just how deep and how clean the mechanics of combat of this game really is. As it goes by, your character is going to gain more gameplay skills, and it opens up more things. Like, you're going to get more skills, you're going to gain more equipment, and the equipment in this game alone is actually crazy. Even though you only have about 4 slots to put in anything, there's a lot of equipment to be selected. And once everything starts to slowly come together, it really opens up the way you can fight, and there's a lot of maximizing and minimizing going on. And on top of it all, there is a high amount of enemy variability in this game in terms of all the bosses you will face in multitudes areas of this game, in dungeons, in random encounters. So because of that, you will actually have to approach each of these unique fights differently, and because of the amount of gear you can customize and the amount of different skills you can use to chain in your combo with this real-time fighting system, and the enemies being so different all the time, fighting on a harder difficulty in this game is actually more rewarding because it allows you to actually maximize all the tools that are available to you, such as these battle bonuses that you see, and also different kind of boosting you can do to maximize your different skills and the way you fight. The harder the difficulty of this game, the more enjoyable it becomes. So you can see I have leveled up a little bit more here, and just this real-time fighting, chaining the skills together, and going into dungeons and mixing up your gears, maximizing your offense depending on what enemies you're fighting, or maximizing your defense, and also going from one skill to the next to maximize your gauge. And combined with all of that, make sure you can actually do your extra skills or your most powerful skill at the right times, facing multiple enemies that are different really all the time. Every dungeon has a different boss, every area has a different random encounter. If there's a main story, side quest, all of the bosses are different, so and they offer different kind of problems to you. So you gotta go in with the right skills, go in with the right gear, and change your skills at the right combo, and even like trigger your skills at different times, dodge at the correct times, because it is real-time fighting. When you get it all done correctly, you'll be able to maximize everything you do, and the harder the difficulty, surprisingly, the more rewarding it gets, because you gotta be even more careful and more clean with how you use all of these combat mechanics in the most efficient way possible. The better you play, the smarter you play, the higher the difficulty you can play, and the more rewarding the experience becomes, because you gotta treat every enemy differently, and you have to fight with the best way possible with the skills that are available to you. And not only do you have dungeon fights and random encounters, this game also comes with these unique missions they call sieges, where pretty much you're protecting a point while you're facing wave after wave of enemies. And this is the way this is set up by Ys 9. It's incredibly fun to fight off these waves of enemies, and obviously with your party. You also have different party members in this game, and that also gets pretty developed down the line. I don't want to do too many spoilers because each party member kind of comes with their own story, but I will break them down also in more of my detailed tutorials for each party member you have. But you can see in these sieges, even though you're controlling the main character, you'll also be able to controlling the other party members down the line. But these sieges are incredibly fun. They're in larger areas, wave after wave of enemy, protecting a point, and once again mixing in all the skills you got and try to fight as efficiently as possible. And the higher your score, the more rewards you get, and the better rewards you get, the better gears you can get, and the better gears you can get, the more efficiently you can fight, and you can use all of these different mechanics that are available to you And the healing factor of this game is also incredibly fun. There's many different ways of healing you. You can also improve your equipment, heals through meals. You can heal through basic food or heals through potions you brew yourself, because healing is actually quite big in this game. Because when you get hit, you do get hurt. But everything is really there for you. The player quality of life is absolutely excellent in Ys 9. Not only in, combat and different mechanics and also inventory. The map, the mini map itself, it's actually one of the best I have seen in RPGs in a long time, because it gives you this line of allowing you to see where you've been coming from, and it allows you to kind of backtrack, and it also allows you to access another kind of zoomed in map on your D-pad. So everything there is great. But this game does have some weaker elements, but the weaker elements of this game aren't really deal breakers. They are weak, but they're not necessarily bad. It's just the Ys 9 or Falcom, the developers, is just not really developing these elements of the game. You can see the graphics are decent. They're not great. The environments, the cities itself, is kind of empty, but there are parts of the game where the graphics are better, especially if it has an important story element. You can see the developers will spend more time in this area, so the graphics are decent enough. They're not great, they are weak, but they do not break immersion because they're not terrible. But areas like these, the quieter areas, you can see is not really high quality graphics, but you're not playing this game for that, right? It's not a visual experience. This game is all about the combat, it's all about the gear, it's all about the dungeons, the sieges, and maximizing and minimizing your skills and your character and your party members to, fight as efficiently as possible, versus a pretty large spectrum of you have a lot of options and difficulty in this game. I do not suggest playing this game on anything that's too easy, because it's just not worth it. The harder it is, the better it is. And as you can see here, the stories are quite linear, even though you are allowed to do dialogue and answer with a little bit of options. They don't really change anything in the game, but the story elements are not. The story itself is okay. It's very Japanese RPGs, nothing groundbreaking. You have some, memorable characters, but nothing you can. There's not a lot of interaction here. It's very linear. It's this element of the game weak, the story and the interaction and that, sure. But once again, it's not a deal breaker, because you're not really playing this game for the story. You're playing this game for kind of the combat experience and leveling of your character, getting the best gear. But overall though, the cutscenes, you can see the graphics are a little bit better on the cutscenes. They also would be relatively weak, but not deal breaking. Overall, the story itself, I don't want to obviously spoil it. You have a lot of side quests and a lot of main quests. It's pretty, sweet and obvious. Nothing too, controversial. This is how JRPG is, but it's a very enjoyable experience. Combined with the excellent combat, the average story, the average graphics, it's way more than enough. It's so much fun to play this game. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Great for RPG fans, especially if you're into the classic kind of style and you're a hardcore RPG fan who is just into the combat and you like challenging combat and you like maximizing your party and all of that. This is the game for you. So check it out. If you got any questions, leave it in the comment section. I look forward to speaking to you guys again, and more Ys 9 content upcoming very soon.